start with the pledge of allegiance. It seems like Vic had a meeting for so long, I forgot what to do. Here, would you lead us tonight?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome back.
Catherine's got the gizmo up here. Okay, let's approve the minutes of the January the 6th, 2015 regular meeting, please. Have a motion?
I'll move.
Curry?
Second.
Mr. Wilkerson seconds. That all yes?
Yes.
Okay. Public comments, anybody sign in on the pink sheet? Good. They're not good, thank you. Dana Smith, maintenance update. Dana?
Okay. Well, the first thing I'm gonna talk about is the old sign, Lincoln County High School. I've got a picture up there with a three-dimensional letter that says Panthers. And if you look at the T, that T from top to bottom is 15 inches long. And even with letters that big, because they're so close together and the way they're made, they will fit in that space over there between the plaque and the end of the sign. Takes up 63 inches, and there's like 91 inches available between the end of the sign and the plaque, which would be the center part where they have it. They just don't have the plaque in.
Now, would the plaque be above the S, or would it come down?
Right to the side, kind of above the S, right to the right of the S.
You just went blank on
Okay? You'll do that occasionally if I don't hit it, kick it, I don't kick it. The Panther on top there is just a LED sign. We gotta run electric anyway for the scrolling sign, so that wouldn't be a big deal. Just something to give you an option if you decide not to go with the Panther that we talked about earlier.
What does this LED Panther do?
I don't think it does anything but light
I
up.
mean,
It's
so
just the head.
lighted?
It is lit. I think what you see is about what you get, but I'll get more information on that. I just got this evening, just trying to give you some options. The letters is gonna be somewhere half the price of what I've given you for the bold aluminum, black anodized letter. They're gonna be about half that cost, but I don't have it to the dollar yet. And the bold letters that I had gotten prices on, like what's on the school itself. And they just take up so much space and width that an 8 or a 10-inch letter was the biggest letter that we could work with, using that kind of letter, putting the spacing in there. I like this better myself, but you know, it doesn't matter to me, whatever you guys prefer. The Panther again that I found was $561.30. And this same company said he would install the Panther. And he would install, if we buy these other letters, he will install them.
Now, will he install either Panther, whether it be the
Yes.
full length of it?
He said if we go with this, we'll pay for the actual cost of the materials, but he would install that for free.
What if we got the regular, full length Panther? Would he install that?
He
too?
will install it.
Either one.
He'll charge us something probably to install it, yes. And he'll install the letters that I would buy. If you want to go with the bold, wider, shorter letters, he will install those also.
Okay. Now, to catch up, I know we've talked about this a little before the meeting. This individual that you're talking about, or this company, would also do what other things?
Well, he will also install the scrolling signs and supply the materials for Duval. So I'll scroll down and try to give you an idea of what it looks like. If I go too fast, or if you want me to go back up, just let me know.
Has the design of the one at Duval been chosen by the people at Duval?
They had some input, and I sent this email to both Jonah and Kim this morning, and they've seen it. They were pretty pleased with what they saw. They can still make a change here and there, but there's the cost of materials for the new sign, and there's the cost to install that particular sign.
And the Guy Valley.
You want to see it again?
Now, the part,
Where it says welcome students, that's the scrolling.
that's the
sign.
digital part, right?
And you can see it coming and going, just like Lincoln County High School is.
Now, the Duval at the top and the yellow jacket at the bottom, is that always, that's on there too?
That's
The
all on there
digital's in
too.
between, right?
That's in between. Okay, the Guy Valley sign, it looks like that. And that's the base of it, and there's the installation cost.
That's on the,
That's on Guy Valley's,
That's the
sign,
big-
same cost.
well, that one
And-
there's at the high school, isn't it?
This next one is the high school coming in. If I can get it down there. Oops, went too far.
Can we see Guy Valley again?
Sure.
Now, Guy Valley doesn't have like a little symbol below welcome students. like-
Yeah, it's got, yes, it's got these paw prints.
Oh, it does too, okay.
It's got, instead of yellow jacket, it's got paw print.
Okay.
And that's on a single post. And they do the whole thing, all but the electric. I have to run the electric. Any sign.
Okay, and my understanding is that a company would provide all three signs, right?
Daktronics will supply all three scrolling signs at a total of $48,870. That's for all three.
Now, the source of that, are the schools providing some of those funds?
Yes, sir. They are. And then Alley Cat signs will come in behind that and install all the scrolling signs and all the poles, the rest of the signs for the other two schools, at a total of $14,059.20.
Plus, if we wanted, they would put Panthers on the old sign and put a Panther there.
They'll do that for free. All we have to do is pay for the cost of the materials. If they do this, they'll do the other
Okay,
for free.
so I'm just trying to make sure we understand. We're talking about two companies, with those, between the two of them, all the work would be.
Yes, all the work would be done.
Do I have any other questions or anything, preferences or whatever, Larry?
I like the lettering that you chose. I, of course, favor the full-size print. I like that lettering. That's mine.
Chris, you have any preferences?
I like the lettering when he showed that to me this evening. I prefer, that lettering to the other. I think it's, becoming.
It looks kind of, I don't know, more modern is the right word, but it's more upbeat or something. Craig, do you have any thoughts?
Sounds good to me.
Would the LED light, would that be easy for some other lights?
Yeah, I mean,
Easier.
probably not this Panther. Now this guy said he could make us a Panther, but it'd be $5,000 or $6,000.
We don't want to conversate.
And,
We'll go out and kill one and stuff it, put it on.
it's cheap. It wouldn't be your marble. It would be probably something they'd have trouble tearing up. This Panther for $564.
Yeah.
That Panther's probably not gonna be tamper-proof. It probably a good sized stone may do some damage to it. $561.
Well, either one could be vandalized.
That Panther is 16 inches high by 52 inches long.
And would either fit in the middle?
It'll fit in the
Or on
middle
top,
or the
right?
top, on top, whichever way you want, wherever you'd want to put it.
If we decided to go with the full Panther, would it be out there where you could put it one place and everybody look at it and stick it up there and see what it looks like?
We could do that before they install it.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, I could order that first and try to get it in. And it's not real heavy, I could carry it over there and put it
That
on
way
there.
everybody that really had an interest in it could go out and see what they thought.
I've got the weight of it, it's not real heavy, it's like,
You get Rod to help, you, he can hold the other end of it.
I could probably hold this one by myself, as I recall. I don't have it wrote down on this paper, but I've got it wrote down somewhere how much it weighed.
You probably better get some help.
The shipping on it was only $100, so it couldn't weigh a whole lot.
Does anybody, do we have a preference of the full Panther or the head Panther? Does anybody have strong feelings one way or the other?
I have
I know what
strong
Mr. Wilkerson's are.
It's already said.
You wanna see the Panther again, if I can pull it up? Is
You
that-
bring him up.
Why don't you overlay it on top of the sign there for us, show us your technical expertise.
No, I'm not- I don't know if I can do that.
Here. Trish, when he gets to do everything. I wouldn't ask him, I know he has to do things at once, so I'm not gonna ask him.
Yeah, I don't, problem may be in the chair, not the computer. I don't get this pulled up. I may pull up the wrong Panther, it's been a while since I've had it on. Ain't there? I think that's it.
There he is. She is.
That's not the one. That's one I found, but that's not the one. And I don't think that don't look like the website. I'm not sure, I'll have to, I thought I might be able to find it quick for you, but I haven't looked at it for a while.
Okay, well. Don't worry.
And I may have looked at it, I may have had it on another computer too, but it may not even be on this.
Does anyone have any objections to going with the full Panther?
If there's room for it, I mean,
There's
I'm fine.
room. It's wide enough and it's long.
You okay with that? Let's consider, let's go with the, everybody, Trish, you okay with the?
I'm good with it.
So we're good with the real looking Panther, we're
Yeah.
good with the letters here,
Yes,
and we're good with the scrolling signs and the installation from the company.
yes.
Okay. Progress. I like it.
Carol and I are hoping one of these days that we'll see the finished product.
All right.
But once again, now, each of the Gang Valley and Duval are paying the cost of their sign, is that what I'm?
A big portion of it, yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna help them a little bit.
I won't ask you more questions. I don't want to delay progress. Okay.
If you're close, now we'll delay project.
Okay. So
Any other questions
when
about the signs?
When the Panther does arrive, you can schedule a time when you can place it.
I'll go hold it out there
If
for you.
everybody wants to go watch.
And by the way, those, all three of those signs are without the temperature sensors. I deducted that $250 from all three of them.
Okay.
So that's the total for, without that temperature sensor on
Okay, so that gets the
Okay.
signs, gets them installed and everything.
there. Okay.
Good, good.
All right, the only other thing I wanted to mention, flashing lights, I've got the lights ordered for West Hamlin. I expect them by the end of February.
Have we ever gotten any reimbursement on any of the other lights?
I still haven't got reimbursement on this.
I can read Mr. Wilkerson's mind now.
Now, I've got correspondence, in fact, I sent Miss Lucas a copy of the last email I got from them saying they're still gonna do it. But, the check's in the mail. The Hamlin HVAC project. The urgency, is lessened on that project right now because we found 3 water leaks under that floor. And it's dried up pretty good, so we don't have to be as urgent to do some of the things we were gonna do there. We can take our time, maybe even make that the HVAC a summer project. So, the floor's dried up and we still got issues, it still needs to be done. We still need to eliminate the ductwork under that floor, but it's not near urgent like it was when there was water standing there. So, there was a sink that was leaking, there was a steamer that was leaking. Drain, they were all 3 drains. One was a storm drain, one was a steam, the steam equipment was leaking out under there, and the other one was a sink. So with those 3 items fixed, it's dried up pretty well just in a short period of time. So, now, the roof company that I wanted to bid on the project, I told you we still had 2 years left on our warranty. They've been out there just recently, they went last week and looked at it. They've been real busy and hadn't been able to look at it. But they just sent me some specifications today, and they do recommend some additional steel to support the weight of the rooftop units. And of course, whoever, if one of the other HVAC companies would end up being the low bidder, they have to include an approved roofer to do some of these things so that we don't void the warranty on our roof. So it's real important that I get Harris Brothers to give us some specifications, and they're going to bid the job. They do HVAC work also, which would be a real sweet deal if they would get this job. Or they could subcontract out the roofing contractor to someone else, and then it'd still be okay for somebody to get it.
As long as they approve.
As long as they're approved roofer for this, the roofing company, the EPDM roof that was put on there was a Johns Manville. So as long as we get the roofer that's approved with that rubber roof, then we'd be okay to use somebody else. So I'll put an ad in the paper probably in a month or so, probably have the bids due in the spring, and then we'll decide whether we want to try to do a spring break or summer after that. So that's where we're at on that. Unless you have other questions.
Well, I have one thing. I'm staring at this sign. I hate to go back to this sign again. But it says Duval Elementary Middle School. Now, for consistency, that's the reason I guess I go back to what the school wanted. Should it be Duval PK8, or should it say that?
For consistency, it should say
Well, I'm just
PK through
thinking
8.
out loud here. That's why at Duval, now Guyan Valley obviously is just a middle school, and it would be a factor. But like at Harts, what we did say there.
It says PK.
It says PK through 8 on the building and on the sign, I believe.
I mean, whose idea was it to have that, the company or Kim and her people?
I didn't hear their conversation, so I don't know whose idea it was, but I can run that by Kim and see if she wants to change that to PK through 8.
Well,
You could put bigger letters, it would be more visible to put PK through 8 on.
Well, once again, I just look at consistency throughout the county as to what we have. And that's what we refer to it as, right?
Yes.
That's something to consider. You put it up there and it finally dawned on me.
Well, that's not finalized yet, that can be changed.
Dana, are you using the old supports for this sign?
No,
You're changing.
these are new poles.
Oh, that's good.
Does anybody have any questions about maintenance in the other areas?
Oh, just that one thing, have you got an update on the building for Midway, storage building?
No, I've called down there about 3 times, at Tom's, and they still don't have any prices on the metal for it. They still say they're going to, and they're okay with selling us just the metal and materials to build them at Lincoln County High School, but they haven't given me any prices.
I'll get you one tomorrow.
Okay. That's not aggravated, but the trouble is tired of hearing.
What that was.
Only been 4 months.
Anything else?
I'm not blaming you either.
They just hadn't been real interested. I think they're a little sickly down there. Tom was in the hospital.
I know.
And one of their guys that was gonna help Price is getting sick too. I think they loved him on the sick side.
We'll let Mr. Curry, the envoy.
Light a fire under him, Mr. Curry.
Okay, nothing else of Dana then? Okay, thanks, appreciate it. Okay, next we'll go to Rod Cummings, transportation update. How you gonna follow that, Rod?
I can't have any signed pictures or anything, but I would like to give you an update on our fuel tanks. As you guys may remember, last year we had the chemical leak that impacted us all. As a result of that, Senate Bill 373 was passed, and essentially what happened was all of our fuel tanks and then our fluid storage areas had to be registered. We did that by the DEP deadline of October 1st. We had to do a spill prevention plan for each one of our tank sites. We got that completed, and we're currently in a period of inspections. Now, the 5 tanks that we have, 4 of them are diesel, 1 of them is gasoline, and the gasoline is out here. They rated them, and the one at Guyan Valley was rated a Tier 2 tank. The Tier 2 tank was rated that way primarily because if there was a spill, there was a potential for it to go into Guyan River and the water, the public water sources below it. So it's at a higher standard, so it was one of the first ones that was done. Unfortunately, it was deemed not fit for service because it doesn't meet the industry standards. And the truth of the matter is, probably within the next week or two, our other tanks will be inspected as well. The tank at Guyan Valley, the diesel tank here, and the one at Duval are identical tanks. So even though that's a Tier 2 and it was done first, they have the same standards for the tank itself, the industry standards. So that leaves us with the decision to make on whether to try to make the upgrades to make our tanks compatible with the industry standards or to purchase new tanks. When I talked to Mid-Valley Supply, who was the people who put in the tank for us at Hart's a couple of years ago, with the upgrades that would need to be made, one of the things is a sensor between the tank and the concrete. He tells me with the age of the tank, the amount of repairs that we have, and that there's no guarantee that when they try to add that sensor that it won't crumble the concrete, that we would probably be better off with replacing those tanks. So we're in the process of getting prices. I expect the guy from Mid-Valley Supply to be here sometime this week so that we can look at the tanks and see what kind of options that we have. But I wanted to make sure you knew this up front, what we were going through. We have received a letter from DEP based on the information that we put in with this tank not being fit for service. We have 15 days to reply, which Core Environmental, who has helped us with this work, is fixing a letter to send to the DEP, and our response to them will be that we'll shut the tank down and either make repairs or replace it. And he indicates that we'll be looked at favorably by DEP because this is all a new process. Any questions?
So, go ahead.
Yeah.
Are you saying that even though the tank at Guyan Valley was a Tier 2 tank, that the tank here in Duval,
Yeah,
even though they'll be rated on a different tier, they'll be evaluated on the same standards?
Same standards. The big difference between a Tier 1 and a Tier 2 is the location of the tank. This one and the one at Duval, if it was to fail, wouldn't impact public water. where Guyan Valley does, it's then elevated so that our response plan, if there's, has to be a little bit more entailed.
But the
But the industry
standard-
standards are the same for each tank.
How old are these respective tanks?
Best I could figure is mid-80s. And then,
Roughly, what did the one at Harts cost?
about $8,500, but I think it's it'll be a little bit smaller tank, I believe, than this. We have a difference in, you know, time, in a couple of years, we'll probably shoot it up. I'm guessing that we're probably looking somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 11,000 for each one.
What did Harts cross, we just put in?
Yeah, it was about 8,500.
Now, it should pass.
It's fine. It meets industry standards. It's something similar to that is what we want to do here. And just to be honest, this is either a 2,000 gallon tank or a 4,000. I've seen it two different places and had both figures, so when the tank guy gets here, I'll find out what size tank that is so that we can replace it with something similar. Probably by DEP standards, they would want us to shut down Guyan Valleys first because it is tier 2. My hopes is that if we go through with this, that we'll replace this one first, take that one out of service, so that when we get this one finished first, then we can bring our people there to fill up while we're getting the other ones ready. Time frame that he's given me depends on how long it takes to get the tank in. But once it gets in, maybe a week to get them going.
Ron, are we talking about just the tank proper or the controls?
Yeah, the whole, well, the controls that we have, we bought before, so that they're new.
They're okay.
They're okay, but the fuel system that we have will have to be reprogrammed to replumbed to the new time. And like I said, when Mid-Valley Supply comes, hopefully later this week, I'll have a better idea of the cost and what it all entails. Ms. Lucas and I had talked too about the tank itself, if we replace it. According to Core Environmental, what they say, if we take that tank out of service, we can't sell it in the state of West Virginia, that it has to be destroyed or, so we'll have that cost before we did it before.
These tanks line?
Yeah, the one at Harts is metal with a line. Yeah, and there's I forget what they call it, but there's a sensor inside, in between, that tells if there's fluid that's coming.
Up the Harts Creek, they don't have to have a container all around them.
No, not with the metal tanks, they don't.
It's under an dime river.
Yeah, yeah, but by standard, we didn't have to build a container with that particular type of tank.
Because it's a two-stage tank with a sensor between the two stages.
Okay. Another thing I wanted to mention, of course, today's probably not the appropriate day to do it, but cold weather's here. Maybe not today, but we'll have some more. And just wanted to kind of give you a few tidbits, I guess. But when the road conditions aren't safe, we've instructed our drivers to notify, and this is in the mornings when they make their run, if they deem that a road is too icy to run, that they're to notify the bus garage. We place that information on our county website. It's over on the right-hand side under transportation, so the parents can look at that. And some of our drivers, and we've instructed the rest of them too, that to form a phone tree, if you will, so that they can contact parents when they know that they're not going to be able to run for whatever reason, so kids aren't standing out when it's really cold. We've also had our drivers, and we've made arrangements to plug in our buses anytime that the temperature drops below 20 degrees. And obviously, here at the lot, there are some that won't be, but here at the lot, we have mechanics that are here so that they can help get them started if they need to. We just don't have enough plug-ins or spots to do that. When we take the 2-hour delays, we've asked our drivers to get out early and check their buses to make sure that they'll run, so that the mechanics will have a chance to get them started if they're not. And despite them being plugged in, when the temperature gets down, there's still buses that won't start. I've also asked them, or told them, I guess, that when they're able, when we know that the weather's bad, the day before, to get out and check the roads. If they're can determine that it's too icy to run in the next day, for them to report that to the supervisors. Supervisors will give that to me, and we'll pass it on so that Ms. Lucas can make a decision or use that in her decision making on whether or not to have school next day. Okay? Anything else?
Let me make sure that everybody understands this. School's in session, buses are operating, but each individual driver decides what part, if any, of their run they can make.
Yeah, they have some discretion, because if they begin up a particular road or whatever, and it's too icy and they deem that it is not safe, then that's always been up to their discretion on whether or not to run
Right,
that.
I just want to clarify that,
Sure.
but a lot of people don't really understand that.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that each driver,
Yeah, it makes perfect sense because, as many roads and haulers as we have, there's no way that all those can be checked beforehand, especially sometimes in the mornings, it's right at school time when we're making a decision because of, slick roads or snow or whatever. It's just not an opportunity.
Anybody have anything else for Ron? I'm going to ask you about your time clocks.
Yeah.
How's that system working?
We've had several glitches with it, and we're still working on it. It has not, and Bertie may be able to speak to this more than I can, but it's not lining up with our software that they use in here yet. But we're working on it. We've done a download, and we want to try to problem solve and get it where it needs to be.
Our intention was that would serve as a way of notifying bookkeeper that payroll department, right?
Yes,
We're still working towards that.
we're still working towards that, yes.
And we were told that it would do that, right?
Yes, we was. We talked to the people in Raleigh County, as well as some other counties that were
I
using
mean,
it.
the people we bought the system off of.
Yes, they did too. And not only that, we talked to people that were using it in our state.
They have the same system as this.
Same system that we,
You keep us up to date on that.
sure thing.
All right, thanks, Rob. Okay. All the presentation reports. Let's go to the administrative section. Can I have a motion, please? Carol made a motion. Second by Rowdy. Great.
Okay. Item A is a service contract with Cameron Environmental Services, Inc. to provide service sewer plants, including inspections, sampling, and repairs according to the terms of the contract, and it would be effective immediately. Item B, school volunteers who on occasion may also serve as bus chaperones or provide transportation for students to and from athletic events, academic competitions, or school outings, who have provided proof of private vehicle liability insurance and have completed volunteer orientation. Item C is revised policies for 30-day public review and comment. And it's policy 3420, benefits, and 4420. Item D is a grant contract with School Building Authority of West Virginia for window replacement and then asbestos caulking abatement at Hamlin Pre-K 8 and Ranger Elementary Schools, totaling $256,300, with an additional $60,000 in local funds for the total cost of $316,300, according to the terms of the contract.
Any questions? Just for clarification on C, now this is what we talked about before, changing the retiree option for general and optical insurance to where if there are two spouses that both retire from the board, that only one spouse would have to pay, and they both get benefits. That's what those things work out. Okay, nothing further then, we'll take a vote. Everybody in favor of all the administrative items, is that all yes? Yes. Okay. Go to finance, we have a motion, please.
Second.
Fred made the motion, Mary seconded it.
Bertie?
Item A, separate invoices totaling $845,406.07. And invoices are available for public inspection in the county office. Oh, and I do have December financial statements. You guys probably just got them.
We'll look at those.
Okay.
If we got any
Wanna-
questions, we'll.
Yeah, if you have any questions on that.
Okay. All right, anybody, anything else on finance, we okay? All right, all in favor of all the finance items, is that all yes?
Yes.
Let's go to personnel then, need a motion, please. Sarah made a motion, Rowdy seconds. Trish,
Okay, section A is for the employment of short and/or a long-term substitute professional personnel. Section B is the employment of service personnel. Section C is transfer of service personnel. Section D is the employment of extracurricular personnel, and I would like for number 1 to be deleted. Under D, And then section E is for retirements and/or resignations. And it's noted under the effective date, whether they are retiring or resigning. Any questions?
but in similar, is it still employees that retire notify that they're going to do it? Is there a certain date that they get a bonus still? Is that still on?
Yes, professionals, January 15th. Other professionals, other than classroom teachers and service personnel, February 1st.
So for the professionals, it's, their time's out, they can't do it now, right? You still get a bonus.
If it's a teacher, classroom teacher, probably.
The other, the time is fast approaching.
Yes.
Okay. All right, anybody have anything, questions or anything else? Okay, then we'll move for approval of the personnel items with one deletion on item B1 being deleted. Is that an all yes vote?
Yes.
Yes on that. Okay, anybody have any comments or concerns?
Yeah, I requested a printout on the overtime and the absentee.
You want to go as part of your presentation? Oh, okay.
We did get the instructions just recently on the school calendar, getting ready to do the committee, getting the committee together. We have to have 2 public meetings. If you all recall, that was required starting last year for the public to be able to have input.
Now, is this prior to putting out a draft? Calendar, or just getting input before you do it?
We'll develop a couple of calendars for employees to examine, vote upon, their preference before we would come to the board
Okay.
to discuss those calendars.
And then the public would know what options are being proposed or considered?
Yes.
And looking at timelines, look at the possibility of having these public meetings in March. Just want to throw that out there, maybe the first meeting in March and the last meeting in March is a possibility
And they would be held at Hamlin?
here at the central office.
Would we, I can't remember what we did last year, did we notify the public through some?
Yes, through the newspaper.
This is part of the regular meeting, you're saying?
Right, first, that's how would be my mode of handling
That's what
that.
it's handled.
That we're required or would put an ad so the public can know this, right?
Right.
Anything else on comments, concerns?
I was just going to mention that we were talking today in our meeting about a number of our students are being absent due to flu and the cold and the different kind of things that are going around. So I don't think we have reached the point of having to look at closing school at this point, but just wanted to
department, they go and make that decision.
They do.
Have you put the custodians on notice to take extra care, clean?
Principals are well aware of seeing that they're doing that.
Now, just once again, the OEPA business begins tomorrow, so we'll be back to the front. See a couple of things, and that ends at the end of this week.
They end Thursday,
For 2 days.
2 days.
Okay, all right. Any things, we'll go down to the superintendent's evaluation, just for everybody's memory here. You know, we began this process back in September. By September 15th, we have to establish goals for the superintendent each year. And then we have to conclude that evaluation normally by the end of June. We usually do it by June 1st. But in the last year, the superintendent's contract has to be done by March the 1st. So tonight's part is when the superintendent presents to us documentation and makes a case, I suppose you want to say, as to how she has met those goals. So we're going to have that part tonight, and then we will do the next part of it, Brenda, when we actually meet. Is that February 17th?
I think that's what it is on that meeting calendar.
Okay, and that's when, after consideration of what the superintendent presents to us tonight, we'll go back in executive session, revisit the goals that were established, considering what we've heard, and then the board will complete the evaluation at that time and get input from the superintendent as to where we are, alter the DB, and then all that will happen before March the 1st. I think Brenda and I decided it's the 17th of February. Okay. Okay, Chris, the floor is yours. Is this something that has to be done executive session? Is that not right? Okay. So then we'll need a motion to go into executive session to hear the superintendent's documentation of the evaluation of goals. So Mr. Baker makes a motion, seconded by Larry, and it's 6:42. Is that an all yes?
Yes.
Yeah.